If you're an Asian guy who has used a dating app here in North America, you probably have an idea of what I'm going to say. And if you don't, whether you're an Asian guy who is scared to start his own dating app journey, or you're not even an Asian guy in North America, period. If that's the case, then hey, props off to you for opening your mind up to new perspectives and listening to new voices. But in this video, I wanted to talk about dating apps as an Asian guy, especially here in North America. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Decent looking, I think. Good social life, lots of friends, and I was a confident guy for the most part. But dating? Zero. I had mentioned this in my previous video, but throughout all of high school, all of college, nothing. Now, again, there were reasons for that. I focused more so on my studies, my video games, and my personal YouTube hobby, rather than focusing on the intricacies of dating in the 2010s and my teen years. As a result, I was really awkward. I didn't have Riz, or any of those things. So when I finally decided to try using dating apps seriously at 22, 23 years old, I thought, okay, I have a career that I like, I got the education that I wanted, now it's time to work on dating. These apps have some sort of an unspoken promise built within. The idea that you are destined to meet somebody, singular or plural, and that the apps will be the vehicle which allow you to make that connection. Everybody is destined for somebody, right? Well, maybe not exactly. You see, as decent looking as I say that I am, personally, there have been various results that I've had with these different dating apps, especially as a guy in Vancouver. If you didn't know, Vancouver has a pretty high immigration population. Areas that are just a bridge away from Vancouver, like Richmond or Surrey, still cities in the greater Vancouver area, a lot of these cities have very high Asian immigration populations. And while I understand that's a fun phrase to go out there and say, it does set a pretty interesting foundation for what the dating scene looks like in this area of North America. Both men and women are pretty diverse. Assuming you don't have any restrictive filters on which races you want to see, you will come across a number of people from various backgrounds and nationalities. This is one of the big things that I think Vancouver does well, in that the melting pot of cultural identities and backgrounds really makes for a unique experience growing up here. But with that said, Asian guys have a very interesting set of parameters to work with. For one, Tinder generally doesn't work for us. The male friends that I've had in my life that have gotten the most out of Tinder happen to have been white guys, which I guess fits more so with the idea that Tinder is more for hookups than anything else. The Asian friends that I've had didn't really see any results with Tinder, and that was the same for me. Bumble, it was a bit of a different story. It was kind of okay. The entire woman message first element of that app was a pretty big factor when Bumble was starting out, but it's a weird critique to make, but I would say that there are too many guys on Bumble. There was a girl that I knew, and she had a Bumble profile, and she showed me just how many likes she ended up getting within the span of just a few days, and my goodness, she was up there in the 7,000 mark just after about a week. I was like, at that point, okay, there is no way any woman, whether you are looking for a genuine relationship or just something short-term, is going to be able to filter through that many responses. And I understand, maybe not every woman on Bumble is at 7,000 plus likes, trying to find matches and trying to balance 10, 15, 20 conversations a day, but just understanding that that's the market that exists on that app really makes me understand when my Bumble matches would not message me, even though the entire premise of the app is that the woman message first. Which brings us to probably the third most popular app in my city, and the one in which I use to find my girlfriend, Hinge. Now, I'm going to do my best to not make it seem like I'm promoting the heck out of this app. It sounds great. Oh, I met my girlfriend on Hinge. But there's more to it than that. You see, I was on Hinge for a while, and I did have many dates found from Hinge. I did connect with multiple women over the course of a few years, but I didn't end up finding my current girlfriend until maybe a year and a half after seriously starting to use the dating apps, and in particular Hinge. They give you 10 likes every single day. And this was one of these things where I would use my dailies, quote unquote, to make sure I was maximizing my shots on goal to try and find the right one for me. And this is actually where I got the most success in regards to matches and actual conversations compared to the other apps that I'd used. You see, on Hinge, whether you are an Asian dude or a white dude, firstly, there is a section of the app which allows you to block certain races from showing up on your feed for free. I'm not sure if the other apps have that, but on Hinge it is a regular feature. And secondly, Hinge was the only app where you could actually show elements of your personality before getting the match. On the other ones, you just swipe and swipe and swipe, it's a yes or a no. But on Hinge, the fact that you are able to comment on an element of your opposition's profile was a pretty big leg up. For me, I'd say that I'm a decently cool person. Not super cool, but just kinda cool. But I do know how to talk to people. And so, replying to images or replying to prompts, I think, was a pretty big strategic plus for me as a decent-looking Asian dude with a pretty alright career, I would say. I'm not gonna lie, I do think that my career and the promise of being a YouTuber, putting that on my profile and also having that blasted out everywhere, I think that did a lot of heavy lifting for many of the matches that I was able to get. But I'm not going to say that I was drowning in responses. Absolutely not. I would probably get, let's say, maybe like a match every 4 or 5 days or so, and that continued for about a year, just kind of building up a list of names of people that I'm in touch with and that I would like to go out with, maybe. But it turns out that for the regular Asian guy in North America, it's hard to find a full baseline for that. OkCupid released data from their platform showing that Asian men are among the least messaged and least responded to demographic on dating apps in North America. And it's not a small gap either. It's a consistent, documented pattern. I want to be careful here because I'm not making this into a victim story, but I also do think it's important to let these voices be heard. If you're an Asian guy swiping on Hinge and you're wondering why your results don't match the effort, there is a structural reason for that, and it's not just in your head. For me, while it's true I got a decent amount of matches, the amount of times I would get ghosted or completely ignored after getting matched, it was enough to really discourage me from wanting to open the app at all the following day. The conversion between match to actual date, while it was there, it was not nearly as good as you would think it would be when hearing that I'd get a match every 4 or 5 days or so. And I'm not even saying that that's a lot. I understand that there are many guys that do get a lot more than that. Especially on the women's side of things, I think it's fair to say that generally speaking, most women can get whomever it is that they want to match with them on a dating app if they put in the effort to make that known. But at least from the perspective of an Asian guy here in Vancouver, I can say that the majority of my matches were with Asian women as well. It's kind of easier to get that cultural connection when you are literally coming from the same area of the world. But at the same time, I know the Vancouver slice of North America is absolutely not representative of how everything else is around the rest of the continent. The desexualization of Asian men is real. It's documented, it's been a stereotype in movies and Hollywood for years, and it has a psychological effect on guys absorbing that message without even realizing it. All of a sudden, I've seen guys in my life, people that I dub decent dudes, good dudes, intrinsically put themselves below other people in the dating pool. That idea is always going to be present, even if it's just a little tiny bit in the back of our subconscious. For me personally, I didn't feel like I was suppressed much as an Asian guy in Vancouver, but really, what was holding me back from finding any sustainable relationship of any kind was more so my own personal idiosyncrasies, and we had already spoken about that in the previous video. Again, I had no riz, so it really took a long time, and a lot of soul-searching in between to develop myself and my personality into the most attractive and presentable way it could be at the time. I mentioned that in the past, because I didn't have any experience, I was kind of desperate and weird with women when I would meet them and match with them back in 2023. But as time went on, and as I started to realize that desperation reeks on attractiveness and just being fully accepting of yourself and allowing yourself to be the best version of you, that is ultimately the right way to attract a partner. That's when it became somewhat easy. I took about 6 months off of the apps in early 2024, just focused on my work, my YouTube channel, building my personal brand, and getting money. And when I came back, I was different. Not really on the outside, but on the inside. The desperation was gone, and desperation, women can smell it easily. They feel it in how you text and how you respond, how quickly you move. When it wasn't there anymore, everything shifted. I found my girlfriend within weeks of coming back to the apps, and we're getting married later this year. And I'm not mentioning this to brag, but what I am mentioning this for is to articulate the fact that the version of me that found her was the same face, same background, same race. There was just a different energy to the way that I interacted with her and the way that I had interacted with all the other matches I'd had in the past. I guess it goes without saying, but my girlfriend is Asian as well, so maybe this idea isn't really too applicable for those in more Caucasian parts of North America. But I do think that my perspective is valuable and that it can provide you the opportunity to share your perspective as well. If you're an Asian guy watching this and you're on these apps right now, I want you to know that even though the data is real, even though the bias is real, and even though it's not entirely in your head, it's also not the end of the story. Don't let a dating app's algorithm write your identity for you. That's all I got. Stick around. We'll talk more about this kind of stuff every few days.